Hey everyone, the purpose of this video is to catch everyone up on the status of the MVP. So I'm just going to go straight to my notes here. But before that, to give some context, we just finished our third sprint. And so we kind of give ourselves 3 sprints draft of the MVP. And so that's where we're going to get into right now. For the last sprint, which ended this weekend, we wanted to focus on donations and hooking everything up with the blockchain. So we'll get into some of that. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is lots of code, but firstly, right in front of us, what we have is the MVP. If you just go to mvp.giveth.io and you click on campaigns, you'll see this screen. And I kind of like this first picture here of this guy jumping across the cliff because that's kind of where I see us as the dev team. We're kind of like halfway across this jump, kind of at the apex, looking down on the next cliff, thinking about how we're going to land this thing. So I just wanted to show off that image. One way to show off the code is by looking at the commits. If you go to our giveth GitHub and go to the dApp and then check the commits, which is just done by clicking on commits. You can see just how much work has been done in the last sprint. The sprint started on the 29th, and there's been more commits than can be even fit on one page here. You have to go over to the next page. And so if you want to check out specifically, really dig into the work that was done, you can see it that way. Another way to show off the work is to look at the code itself. Hold on. Awesome. So here, this is the actual project. From the root level, it looks pretty small. Everything's kind of well architected from what I can see. When you look at all our dependencies, you can kind of see us using some of the latest and greatest in terms of Node applications. And if you look in the source, just one thing I wanted to show off briefly is just how many components we have. This is just a lot of code. Each one of these components is like a little section or a button or a view that makes up our dApp. So all these little buttons, all these list items and sections have just been well architected. I'm going to leave, there's so much that's happened under the hood in terms of hooking up with the blockchain and what's been done on the UI. I'm going to leave getting into the specifics of that to the leads, RJ and Satya themselves, just because it's a real challenge. But one thing I wanted to call out was just the good foundation that I feel like it's being built. The quote quality, the level of comments, and the architecture, I think, is going swimmingly well. Okay, but to get back to the actual app, let's go ahead and play with this MVP. So I'm going to go ahead and try to sign in. And it recognizes who I am because I've put a wallet here before. So let me just check my super secret MVP wallet password and paste it in. All right, so now I'm in. So now I can actually create a DAC. So got one queued up here. Let's save. Let's say save South Africa. Sure, let's go ahead and add a picture. All right. Nice, check out this cool toast up here. Okay, so I just added a DAC, and for some reason it didn't get the image, but here you can see it's saved South Africa, and I can edit or delete it here. I'm going to move on to campaigns, and go ahead and start a campaign. Let's call this one Help Cape Town, because Cape Town is in South Africa. So should be useful in so then when I go over here and I change, I can select a DAC to relate this thing to. And so I'm going to choose say South Africa because Cape Town's in South Africa, and I think those people will be interested in helping out Cape Town. And there's a cool toast where it says my DAC was created. And here we are, and it says help Cape Town. And oops, I had already created one from before. So let's just delete that one. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and donate. So in order to donate, we can go to any of these and click on them and say donate. And we can enter whatever amount we want. So this person's going to have 23. All right, we're awesome. We just donated, and oh yeah, here you can see the donations that have been made. And so our 23 Ether is right here in the donation list. So that's one way that you can see the donations, but another way is to actually go to your dashboard, and you can see the stuff that relates to you. So if I go to my campaigns, all right, looks like I have one campaign, and I can edit or delete from here, or I can edit or delete from the long list. Let's see, I can also go to my DAX. Looks like I have two of these, and I can go to my donations. And here you can see, I think, all of the donations, but you can see that the list has begun for how the donations will look. And I think that's all I wanted to go over in terms of new things that are available. There's also a link for my delegates, but it hasn't really been implemented yet since we don't have any delegations yet. So next on my list, I just wanted to mention deployments. So we have these deployments running, or whether RJ and Satya set up the DApp to deploy after every merge commit. So you're always seeing the latest and greatest here on mvp.giveth.io. And test data. So one of the cool things about how we have things set up here in terms of our architecture is we can, because this is DApp is just a client-based application, meaning it's something that's downloaded onto the phone and then used straight from there. It's really easy to deploy it to different places. So this is me deploying the version of our MVP to my own GitHub link, and I can connect it to different test environments. Here in DigitalOcean, these are all the servers that we have up. We have a Feathers 2 and 3, and each of those has like 5 or 6 instances of Feathers running that we can use for test data. And so that's so we can set up different test environments without having to affect production. Since the next few sprints will be kind of more focused on that, this is just kind of show us kind of preparing for the next phase of testing. And so let me go ahead and generate some data. This is pointing to a different QA server than production. And I'm going to go ahead and run this script that I showed off in a previous show and tell. But basically it just generates some data. And if we go back here, so what's happened is this just sent a bunch of data to that server. And right now this is our a version of the MVP up at a different address, kind of think of it like a test version. And I'm going to continue to keep talking here because I'm kind of expecting to see something magically appear, and here it did. I guess I added a lot of test data, and this is it rendering all the test data that was rendered to the server, just popped up here on our screen without us having to call it. It was just pushed here. And this is international, let's see, these are different DACs, so that's why it's like international, politics, LGBT. If I go to campaigns, we'll see some names like Sina saves Sweden, Charlene saves Brazil, just different test data that you can go to. And so this is the last thing I wanted to show you, just to show you that us kind of getting our ducks in a row, preparing for the new testing future here. Okay, so I also wanted to say about what we have left. So as you can see, we have delegations left, we have milestones, review process, and all the testing that has to be done to make sure this is working right. And then I also lastly wanted to show the calendar. So this is where we're at right now. We just finished our last of 3 sprints, and you can kind of see this green, yellow, red is kind of like a traffic light. We're like in this yellow zone where we really need to kind of have this reality check and see, now that we're at the top of the mountain, how exactly do we want to land this thing before DevCon. But I don't want to get into that too much because that's what the dev team is going to be discussing in Barcelona. And so we'll hopefully figure it out then. All right, that's a mouthful. So hopefully I didn't bore you too much. And yeah, just reach out to me in Slack if you have any questions. Thanks.